Hello, children. I'm sure you had a wonderful examination, and I've also checked your papers, and they are pretty good, whatever you have written. But still, we will discuss the questions and answers that you have written in case any of you have any query or any questions regarding what was given. So, the map I will be discussing later, it was recall and it was on Google Form, 7 marks for that. Let us start with the first skill of the subjective paper, which was comprehension and analysis. It carried 12 marks. The first question stated that you had to write three differences between metallic and non-metallic minerals, and it was categorically written or told to you that examples of metallic mineral and example of non-metallic mineral would not be considered as an example, because we want, when you are supposed to write differences, you are supposed to write the characteristics. How are they characteristically different? So examples are generally an add-on to it. It's not exactly the thing that we require in a difference. So there were many from which you could have chosen. For example, that metallic minerals, they contain metallic minerals, non-metallic minerals do not contain metallic minerals. Then metallic minerals are generally hard and they have a shiny surface. Non-metallic minerals do not have a shiny surface and they are not as hard as metallic minerals. Metallic minerals are mostly found in igneous or metamorphic rocks, which is rocks of fiery origin, and non-metallic minerals are found mostly in sedimentary rocks. Metallic minerals are ductile and malleable. They can be beaten into sheets or they can be stretched to produce wires. Non-metallic minerals are not so. In fact, they are so hard that when you beat them in order to produce a sheet or a wire, they generally break into pieces. Metallic minerals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metallic minerals are poor conductors. Metallic minerals can be melted to produce new products. And, and metallic minerals are less abundant than non-metallic minerals. And then afterwards, after you finish with all this, you could have given, you like most of you did, about 95-96% of you did, examples like gold, copper, these are metallic minerals, and non-metallic minerals are like quartz, mica, etc. So any three differences out of the list that I have read out to you could have been used for the first question. The second question stated, the availability of minerals plays a crucial role in the economic development of a country. Note that it is in inverted commas. This line I have taken straight out of your textbook. Give two reasons to justify the statement. So there were three reasons from which you did choose. The first one is that the overall development of a country depends on the power resources that a country possesses. And of course, these powers, they can be generated from minerals. Secondly, large-scale industries depend on minerals as raw materials. And thirdly, several fertilizers are also made from minerals. Therefore, it plays a major or a crucial role in agriculture as well. So, any 2 points out of the 3 that I have told you would suffice. The third question, give an example of a canyon in western USA and name the river that has carved it out. Now, how can you make out whether this one is a canyon, not a gorge? The best example we know is Grand Canyon cut by River Colorado. Just to mention here, River Potomac does not flow in western USA. Okay, so and how do you know that it is a canyon, not a gorge? Because a gorge is often smaller. steeper and narrower than a canyon. So this is the difference between the gorge and the canyon. Question number 4. How can we determine the slope of the Great Central Plains? Well, the Great Central Plains, we know that it is bound by the Western Cordilleras in the west, the Appalachians in the east, in the north it has the Canadian Shield. And how do we know that it is sloping? It slopes northwards in Canada, as proven by River Mackenzie, which flows into the Arctic Ocean. We know that all water or river, it follows the slope of the land and goes towards the sea, which is at a lower level. And in USA, the river Mississippi flows into the Gulf of Mexico. Therefore, in USA, the slope is southwards. So, these 2 points would have sufficed for this 2-mark answer. Question number 5, pretty direct question. How are the Western mountain ranges, that is the Western Cordilleras, different from the Eastern Highlands or the Appalachians? And you had to write 3 points for it. So first of all, some of you have also given the extent. I have accepted that. The first difference could have been the Western Cordilleras are young fold mountains. The Appalachians are old fold mountains. The Western Cordilleras are high because they are young fold mountains, and the Appalachians, because they have undergone a lot of erosion and denudation, being old fold mountains, they are lower in elevation. And for the Western Cordillera, the highest point is Mount McKinley, and the highest point of Appalachians is Mount Mitchell. So these 3 points could have been written, which you did. It's not that could have been written, you did write. So these are the 3 points, and as I told you, the extent is also perfectly fine. Now we come to the application question. The first application question was, in winter we often find people burning coal, that was 1 point, and wood to keep themselves warm. Do you support this practice? You should have disagreed with this, because if you take coal, for example, coal takes millions of years to form, but you burn them within a few hours. So it's a non-renewable resource. More or less the same with trees. The trees would take years to grow, but you can chop them off very easily and burn them down within a few hours. So the rate of regeneration is very, very slow compared to the rate of consumption. So this was the expected answer out of the first question of application, carrying 3 marks. Application in overall carried 6 marks. So 3 marks was for this question number 6. Question number 7 was, if you observe, you will see that most of the Indians who migrate to Canada settle in the city of Toronto. Why do you think so? So Toronto must be having some good thing about it, which is the reason why they prefer to settle in Toronto. You could have found out 3 points. For example, that the University of Toronto is there, and it is a center of higher education and research. So if there are students who want to go there or pursue academic career, it's a good place to settle. It's the economic capital of Canada, so a lot of job opportunities out there, and it is also located on the scenic shores of Lake Ontario. So it has a good location and therefore a very good climate. So that sums up or wraps up your subjective paper. You have done well, children. So these were actually the expected answers, and as I am repeatedly telling you, you did well. Good, keep it up.